It's okay. It was just a bad dream. I heard it again.
No more nightmares tonight. Okay, champ?
Daddy!
This is getting ridiculous.
This is an old house. There's bound to be bumps in the night.
Cobweb. All right. So this movie, I was intrigued when I first saw the trailer. Like, I remember the trailer just coming out of nowhere, and I was immediately just transfixed by it. And then the movie came out, and the nearest movie theater that it was to me was about maybe 30, 40 minutes away. That's because Lionsgate made the executive decision to have a limited release. And I'm like, why would you do that? But another problem was they decided to release this movie close to when Barbie and Oppenheimer came out. And I was like, that's a bad choice. Like, bad call, people. So I personally think this movie would have done better if Lionsgate didn't shoot it. Basically, shoot it in the foot. Which is something that Lionsgate has done numerous times in the past. Like with Cabin in the Woods. They decided to release that. I think like it sat on the shelf for like 2-3 years. And then when it eventually came out, they decided to release it in, I believe it was April. And it's like, that's not a good move, guys. That's not what you're supposed to do. So, yeah, Lionsgate has that reputation. But this movie, Cobweb. Whew. Okay. So, Cobweb is about a kid who lives with his parents, who are played by Lizzy Caplan and Antony Starr. And he's, according to them, he has like a bright imagination, and that it's adorable. But he starts, all of a sudden one day, he starts hearing knocking coming from his wall. So then when he's slowly investigating it, he discovers something sinister that his parents have been covering up. So it becomes that like, oh, the horror is in your own house, and your parents are the people initiating this horror. And, but there's a lot more to the movie. But I'm basically giving you the crux of it. I would recommend doing what I did with, No One Will Save You, and go into this completely blind. Because the trailer gives you just a small glimpse of how crazy this movie gets. And it worried me because the movie is only like an hour and a half long. So I'm like, oh boy, like what are they going to do? And the movie gets crazy. And so, when you're watching the movie, you're kind of thinking to yourself like, Cobweb, why is the movie called Cobweb? And then throughout the course of the movie, they start like showing you things, and then like you piecing it together, and you're just like, oh boy, well, this just got more nuts. And, from the performances alone, which I've already, I've seen, like Lizzy Caplan do, I wish she did like some more horror movies. Like the only real like horror movie I would distinguish her like in was Cloverfield. Because Cloverfield still gives me goosebumps every time I watch it. It still freaks me out. But this one, she's actually playing kind of like a eerie, almost psychotic mom. And so you're kind of on edge, and there's like little glimpses here and there where you're kind of going, I don't know, like, do I trust her? Do I not trust her? Like, what is happening? Like, I don't know how I'm feeling right now. And then with Antony Starr, who plays the dad, Antony Starr, he already creeps me out anyway. I mean, if you watch The Boys, you know how scary he is. He just constantly gets you on edge. And he nails it. And it's something like, I wish that both Caplan and Starr did like some more horror movies, because I think they're really good. and they can actually like really capture like horror like villains or like psychotic characters quite well. And the movie just gets crazier and crazier. Like if you look at the trailer and you kind of think to yourself, all right, I think I know what's like the crux of what's going on. Nope. Like I said, the trailer, it feels like a teaser where it just gives you a small taste of how chaotic the movie gets. And it's crazy. It's kind of like how can we keep topping ourselves for how crazy can we make this? And it's just like they keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And another cool thing about this is that this is actually helped produced by Seth Rogen, who owns like The Point Grey, who also helps do The Boys, that has Antony Starr in it. And it's really it's really cool that he's like producing a lot of stuff now. And I really enjoy The Boys. Like this I really enjoyed as well. And yeah, like it just, the movie gets crazy, and I really 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 enjoyed it. This is definitely one of the movies that went under everybody's radar in 2023. It just went under everybody's radar. And I think most of that has to do with Lionsgate's decision to not really market the movie. I mean, at the theater, I saw maybe a poster, but you didn't know when it was coming out. They hardly ever showed the trailer. And, they had a limited run when like all these other movies had like maybe 8 or 9 showings. This movie, I think, had like 2 or 3. I'm like, that's not good enough. Like, but also them releasing it right when Barbie and Oppenheimer came out. That's just, that's just a glitter bomb happening. It's not going to end well. And it just sucks that happened. And I definitely think this movie deserves more praise, because I know a lot of people are just giving it negative reviews, and I'm like, nope, like no, not at all. It deserves more praise, but also it should be seen by more people, and that's why it's one of the movies from 2023 where people were coming to me saying like, oh, have you seen like this? Like it was like the big movies, and like yeah, you saw Barbie, like. I'm like, yeah. Okay, you saw Oppenheimer? Yeah. I'm like, okay, you saw John Wick? I'm like, yeah. And they're just like, okay, cool. Like, what do you recommend? This is one of the recommended ones. Like, been a couple of movies that I was like, okay, you need to watch this one. This was one of them. And I'm like, if you really like horror, but that kind of slow building horror to then when the third act hits and it just gets psychotic, this is it. This is one of those movies. So I highly recommend this movie to, if you like that style of horror, the slow building, but also, when something happens, you're just kind of like, you're kind of thinking to yourself, how are the parents going to react to this? Like, are they just going to go absolutely ballistic? Like, what are they going to do? And yeah, they kind of do, but they always say like, sometimes when parents, sometimes you have to do the worst things to protect your family. And when it's slowly revealed to you why or what is happening, it's just like, oh boy, well, this is just crazy. So highly, highly, highly recommend this movie. I'm trying not to give too much away because I do think it is, I do recommend you go into this extremely blind. Like, if you watch the trailer and that's okay. Like, you watch the trailer and you think you know where the story is going, but you actually have no idea how this is going to play out. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what twists and turns are going to happen. And that's one of the things I loved about the movie, is that it kept me guessing up until the very end. And this gets a great, and highly, highly recommend the movie. I think is somewhere down the line. I think it will be like almost like a cult classic. But to be honest, I think, it's a classic in its own right. And definitely one of the most overlooked movies of the year. And a movie that I think everyone just brushed off. And it sucks because this movie was just absolutely, absolutely fantastic. Can't recommend it as much as I already have.
You have to make hard decisions to protect your family.
What is that? The banging.
Enough! You don't hear anything, Peter.
You have a beautiful imagination.
It's going to get you into trouble one day.